we set up.
Hello.
Sorry for the trouble.
No, not at all. I'm trying to send you by WeTransfer, but WeTransfer does not give me the code yet because it's 60 megas, so it might be too big for an email attachment.
I
Or
see.
can you receive the big file?
I can receive it if you can send it to me
Okay,
at
let's
Gmail.
Gmail. Okay.
Yes, I will right away. Don't. I'll send you my Gmail address.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Students usually show up at like exactly 6 anyway, so we have a few minutes to wait for them.
Maybe my email system's not working. Oh yeah.
Should we give it another try or?
Yeah, okay, wait a minute. Okay, my email does not allow me to upload this big file.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
しょうがない. I will open from my desktop.
So maybe
Yeah,
we'll,
hopefully it works.
okay, so maybe we'll get started and hopefully we'll be all right.
Yes, hope so.
Okay.
Mm. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay. じゃあ皆様こんばんは。時間になりましたので、142回目、今学年12回目の、国際 ARC セミナーを開催させていただきたいと思います。ARC のリサーチマネージャーのサイフマンと申します。よろしくお願いします。本日の発表者は、大英博物館のアジア部三菱商事キュレーターの矢野明子先生になります。ご発表は英語でいただいて、Creative Collaborations, Salons and Networks in Kyoto and Osaka, 1780 to 1880というタイトルで、というタイトルになります。では、どうぞよろしくお願いします。じゃあ、矢野先生、どうぞ。
よろしくお願いします。Thank you very much. So let me share my screen. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, we seem to be having some technical difficulties today, so everyone, please, 少々お待ちください。
So sorry, it's not okay. Yeah. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Okay, so hope it goes to the presentation mode. If it doesn't, I will talk like this.
Mhm.
How's it looking? Is it still looking like?
Yeah, it's still not in presentation mode, I'm afraid, but hopefully you can still change slides. That's still okay.
Right. So is it changing slides or showing the same?
It's still on the top slide.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's changing on my side.
oh,
I can see next slides.
okay. それいいでしょうか。ごめんなさいね。
Did you send a slide to the
I don't think she did. Yeah. It was,
So if I come out of the presentation mode, so I'm seeing all slides on the left-hand side, and
yes.
is it now changing?
Now it's changing.
Is it changing like this?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I should go this way this time.
All
The
right.
main slide may be a bit small, but
Yeah. Now you're muted, I'm afraid. No. How did you? Here we go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's start. So thank you very much for inviting me to speak in the Art Research Center International Research Seminar. And my name is Akiko Yano. I am the Mitsubishi Corporation Curator for the Japanese collections at the British Museum. My lecture today is to introduce some of the objects that have been shown in the special display in the Japanese galleries of the British Museum, City Life and Salon Culture in Kyoto and Osaka 1770 to 1900. So this is a year-long display, which started from April this year. There are two rotations. The first one was from April to October, and the second rotation is now on until the end of March next year. The display showcases objects all from the British Museum's magnificent collection of artworks from Kyoto and Osaka. Please do visit if possible. I'd be happy to show you around the display. So in the bigger cases, we are showing hanging scrolls and screens and like this one. So this is a Kyoto case. And in the smaller cases, we are showing surimono prints and books like you can see on the screen. And this is the book we produced to accompany the special display. Salon Culture in Japan, Making Art 1750 to 1900 was published in June. This is a collection of essays aimed at the general reader, written by myself and my colleagues at the British Museum and SOAS University of London, as well as more scholars from the UK and Japan, discussing aspects of the cultural phenomena of salons and the more general cultural milieu in Japan from the late 18th to the 19th centuries. Chapter topics include cities, picture of everyday life, picturing nature, representations of China, and poems and images. As you can see, this book is primarily about visual culture in late Edo period Kyoto and Osaka. Each chapter essay is followed by 1 or 2 in-depth short essays. The topics discussed are domain warehouses, kurayashiki in Osaka as venues of salons activities, academic circles in Kyoto and Osaka and their legacy in modern and contemporary Japan, the use of pen names in salon spaces, popularization of printed picture manuals, gafu, spread of Nagasaki school painting style in Kyoto and Osaka, Kimura Kenkado as a prominent Osaka literatus, Meiji literati artists collaborative painting, and poetry surimono history in Kamigata. The book introduces over 200 objects in full color, mostly from the British Museum. It has been a great opportunity to highlight Kyoto-Osaka materials, the lesser-known area of the museum's Japanese collection. So this is the inside of the book, Salon Culture. And the special display and the book are both a part of a wider context, a 3-year international research project between Japan and the UK from 2022 to 25. The project title is Creative Collaborations, Salons and Networks in Kyoto and Osaka 1780 to 1800, led by Professor Akama at the Research Center, Ritsumeikan University, and myself at the British Museum. with tremendous support from over 20 scholars from Japan, the UK, Europe, and the USA. The project is funded jointly by the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, JSPS, and UKRI through the Economic and Social Research Council, ESRC. The picture on the screen shows some of the members of the research project when we had a workshop at SOAS, University of London, and an object viewing session at the British Museum. The project is in principle to study people's cultural participation in the late Edo period by creating a database. Information about individuals is collected based on primary sources, not only textual evidence, but also visual materials. By cultural activities, the project means any cultural and artistic engagement, for example, poetry, painting, calligraphy, academic studies, music, horticulture, publishing, tea ceremony, or any other types, formal or informal, as long as there are contemporaneous primary documents that we can refer to as evidence of someone's involvement in practices of arts and hobbies. This is the database page of our Salons project, which is not open yet to the public, but it is probably a familiar sort of view for many at the Art Research Center. Thanks to the ARC's digital knowledge and experience and its stable digital infrastructure, and owing a lot to Professor Akama's vision and initiative, we, the project, are able to accumulate data into the system of databases for research on Kyoto-Osaka Salon culture. The corpus of the objects are from the British Museum's Kyoto and Osaka collection and one private collection in Kyoto. Its scale is about 3,000 poetry srimono, 500 paintings, and 1,000 books from the British Museum. And the private collection we work closely with has got about 4,000 paintings. The databases are structured by formats: paintings, srimono prints, and books, taking in image and textual metadata. The project members and the collaborators at the ARC transcribe the text connected to creators and the participants' biographical information, such as names, place of origin, occupation, and so on, from the primary sources and enter into the database using user memo. So this is one example using the user memo to input data from primary sources, in this case, haiku poets and who's who. So accumulated data will be analyzed manually and digitally to discover personal connections within a group or wider networks. Our objective is to open the database for the public use at the end of the project. Returning to a fundamental question, what is Japan's salon culture? Salon is, of course, a European term. There are historically a few Japanese words representing groups over cultural activities, such as za, ren, kumi, and sha. The project scope, however, is not limited to formal groups. Broadly speaking, at this stage, and any groups and circles formed based on common cultural interest among fellow practitioners can be considered. Such personal relationships and spaces, we call them salons in Japan. Individuals include both professionals and amateurs, women and men, old and young, and importantly, from all strata or class of society in Edo period Japan. Expanding the research scope to examine amateurs' cultural participation is an innovative aspect of this research project. These circles are, in essence, borrowing the sociologist Eiko Ikegami's phrases, horizontal associations and aesthetic associational activities. So on top, the Eiko Ikegami's book, that's what I am referring to now. So Bonds of Civility, so which discusses the social and the political impact of Japan's cultural space creation in the late medieval and early modern times. In the cultural space, she argues, the formal hierarchical order of society appears to have been temporarily negated. To use the term salon in Japanese katakana as salon is fairly common in Japan today in academic studies of early modern Japanese humanities, as well as in more general contexts. In scholarship, the Japanese word salon has largely been applied to describe elite or exclusive literary group activities in the Edo period. And the term network in Japanese katakana seems to be more liberally used in academic works. In this project, the concept of salons is not limited to the elite level. As I said, it includes ordinary people's cultural activities. Edo period Japan enjoyed a time of relative peace. Education flourished, and the literacy rate among commoners was high. In officially stratified and vertically formulated society, however, formation of any political groups was strictly prohibited. Instead, it was in a way the samurai government's clever approach that people were not only allowed, but encouraged to engage in cultural activities. Plenty evidences of ordinary people's practices in culture are left in text and images in the works they produced, taking the formats of prints, paintings, and books. This is a privately commissioned print with poems and an image known as surimono, which were created to mark poetry gathering occasions, often of haiku or haikai groups in the case of Kyoto and Osaka. Haiku was widely accessible due to its simplicity as a poetry form, and many haiku circles were formed across Japan. In this print, the inscription at top left tells us that this is an image from a haikai gathering that was held at a place called Hyojuen in 1808, attended by 6 members of a group, as well as the inscriber and artist Tanida Sukenaga himself. The haiku by the 6 poets are represented in the picture on the design of a sheet of paper spread on the floor. Each poem is signed off with the poet's haimyo, the pen name. It was customary that people used pen names in such a space. Sukenaga, the inscriber himself, explains that although he did not contribute a haiku, he instead contributed the image of the gathering. The group of poets include a young townswoman in the middle, and from her clockwise, a samurai, a courtier, a monk, probably another samurai, and a scholar or doctor. The representation of the figures here may involve imagination to a certain extent, as I am uncertain about a courtier, for example, wearing a very formal attire for an informal poetry gathering. Nevertheless, this image encapsulates a core spirit of the salon culture in the space of which women and men from a wide range of society were able to join a group as a proactive artistic practitioner. Two neighboring cities of our project's focus, Kyoto and Osaka, together with Edo, formed the three major cities, Santo, during the Edo period. Kyoto was the imperial capital, and Osaka was the center of national commerce. While Edo was predominantly a samurai city, Kyoto was characterized by aristocratic culture and elegance, even though a certain number of samurai were present in Kyoto, who were assigned to oversee the emperor and the courtiers' activities. Many religious establishments, as well as highly skilled artists, artisans, scholars, and wealthy merchants were at the basis of Kyoto's characteristics. Osaka was Japan's most important merchant city at the time. There was again a certain level of samurai presence because Osaka was under the direct control of the government. The residents of the city of Osaka were, however, predominantly commoners, many of whom engaged with commerce. Successful Osaka merchants were major money lenders to many samurai lords, and hence were highly influential to the national economy. Commercial contact with the foreign world, namely Dutch and Chinese, was limited to the port of Nagasaki during most of the Edo period. Other foreign contact occasions included Korean embassy's visit to Japan via Tsushima, contact with the Ryukyu Kingdom through Japan's southmost domain, Satsuma, and with Ainu people through the northmost domain, Matsumae. Cities were naturally a place where complex and perhaps unexpected personal encounters and interactions could take place. This is an 18-meter-long painted hand scroll by Kawamura Bunpo, depicting a day of sumo wrestling matches, one of the sport entertainment opportunities available in Kyoto. Sumo originates in a religious ritual, but by this time, it was a paid-for sport event. That said, women were not allowed to attend. Only women serving tea and snacks are pictured here. A large temporary tent was set up to accommodate the event near the Kamo River. This scene is the climax of the picture narrative sequence in which one of the first matches is about to start. Spectators' excitement is represented by the repeated depictions of overwhelming number of men's heads filling up the space. The artist of this painted hand scroll, Kawamura Bunpo, was Kyoto's town artist. Although no information is available as to who commissioned this work from Bunpo, it has a title calligraphy at top right by the Kyoto Confucian scholar Minagawa Kien, and the preface by the Kyoto doctor Murakami Genshun, and the postscript by another Confucian scholar, Ryusen Seikun. This work presents itself as a result of multiple personal connections. Considering that Bunpo was an artist knowledgeable about classical Chinese art and literature, these authors and artists likely knew each other. Kyoto was a city of tradition. It was, however, also open to new ideas and innovation. In the field of visual art, one of the most important Kyoto artists, Maruyama Okyo, established a major artistic current, which heavily influenced the direction of development of Kyoto's painting style from his time to ultimately the modern so-called Japanese style painting, Nihonga. This painting of a seated tiger by Okyo, painted in 1775, is a good example. Tiger is a classical painting subject matter in Japan since the medieval period, imported from China via ink paintings. Okyo's innovation was that he insisted on the importance of sketching from life in creating a painting. Sketching from life had already been practiced by Japanese artists before Okyo, but he emphasized its value and put it at the center of the process of painting. In this case, we can almost feel the texture of the fur of the tiger. Soft white hair around the throat and hard patterned hair on its head. There is, however, something odd in this painting. The truth is that there was no live tiger in Japan to be seen in Okyo's time. Instead, he diligently sketched domestic cats. This tiger's eyes are of cat's eyes. This did not disqualify Okyo from becoming one of the most sought-after artists in Kyoto. The classical and familiar subject matter of tiger was transformed into a representation that is visually new and captured in an elegant and unusually long and narrow cropping. Okyo's innovative approach gained a wide range of patronage in and around Kyoto, and his pupils followed suit and made the Maruyama school style one of the dominant artistic currents in Kyoto and beyond. And not only that, Okyo's pupils and slightly later Shijo school artists were active in salon culture. For example, providing pictures for surimono made for haiku circles. This painting was made at the beginning of the 19th century by 11 artists in collaboration. Each one of the figures is painted by a different artist. The artist's signature and the seal are found beside each figure. These artists were all active in Kyoto and connected to Okyo. Some are direct pupils of Okyo, and others belong within a wider influence of Okyo's teaching. Collaborative paintings, gassaku or yoriai-gaki, usually have one set theme to which contributors created their own work. In this case, it is Chinese immortals, a well-known classical subject matter in Japan. Looking carefully at each one, individual artist characteristics come through their creations. Some are eloquently robust, and others are modest. The artists probably got together to make this one painting. Gassaku are often impromptu collaborations among multiple artists, so painting materials used can be simple, mainly ink and a few colors in this instance. The result appears much more relaxed than each of the artist's independent artwork. Who would paint what and where would have been fun negotiation on the spot among the artists who knew each other well. The practice of gassaku collaborative painting continued into the 20th century. The spirit of salons did not die down with this pair of hanging scroll is a collaborative work by 64 artists in Kyoto, created in 1905. The theme of this painting is a New Year celebration. These round motifs are hoju, so-called wish-granting jewels, originating in Buddhism. As this is an auspicious motif, it had a popular association with the New Year. The contributors here are mostly non-professional artists. Some professional artists painted a large, beautifully round jewel. For example, the large red one on the right-hand side scroll. So this is the detail. The large red one on the right scroll in the lower middle position by Ueda Kochu. Others, such as those small ones at the bottom, are little clumsy. But that is not the point. The individuals who got together for this occasion include painters, tea ceremony masters, a retired local government official, no theater musicians, poets, painting mounter, and local fishmonger proprietor, and their siblings and spouses. It was an occasion for men and women from different professions in a local community to come together. It is clear that it did not matter whether or not you were skillful in drawing a round wish-granting jewel. What is important was that everyone contributed one to the theme set for the occasion. Each one of the participants was an active practitioner, not an onlooker or a critic. Artistic collaboration could overcome various boundaries. Another gassaku example is this painting of fireflies, which has an interesting story behind it. In 1881, the British monarch Queen Victoria's grandsons, Prince Albert Victor and Prince George, during their royal visit to Japan, were entertained in Kyoto by improvisational painting performances by professional painters. One of the Japanese painters who was invited to perform was Kubota Beisen. He was young, newly been appointed to painting school. When Beisen finished creating his own painting, he cordially offered the princes to try to paint something on prepared paper with ink and brush. Prince George, the future King George V, took up this friendly challenge and made several ink dots on the paper. To respond to this witty move, Beisen swiftly added a few strokes of legs and heads and red dots to create a scene of dancing fireflies. Collaboration over artistic practice could transcend the boundaries of nationality, social status, and language. This is the spirit which existed at the core of salon culture. Osaka played the role of a major commercial center during the Edo period, benefiting from its location open to Japan's inland sea, which was the busy route for domestic sea trade, coming in and out from Osaka and extending as far as Hokkaido. This is a rare painted bird's eye view of Osaka, showing an image of a city of rivers and canals. deep blue representing water, and the vast view of the city is partially covered by golden clouds. Contrasting gold and blue is a typical Japanese screen painting style, which gives the cityscape an impressive aura. The city center was crisscrossed by canals and many arched bridges, large and small, connected the land. Interactions between Osaka and Kyoto via the Yodo River were frequent, indispensable, and essential for the formation of the character of the two cities together. This is one of the illustrations from the book Setsu Meishō-zue, Illustrated Guide to Famous Places in Setsu. It is a scene of large ships being moored at the mouth of the river at Osaka Bay. Many of these ships went out to the northern coasts of Japan and came back with goods such as kelp for cooking, dried fish for fertilizer, and safflower for dyeing fabrics. This is another illustration from the same book. This is a scene of a large number of bales of rice being carried on a boat through canals and unloaded onto a riverbank in front of one of the daimyo lord's kurayashiki warehouses. Any excess rice, collected as tax from each of the local authorities, was sold at the specialist rice market and exchanged for cash or other types of products. Osaka had a major rice market in Dojima in the city center. The price of rice sold in Osaka affected the national economy. Collaborative painting is also found in Osaka. 10 artists created this painting of turtles in 1815. We don't know what occasion it was created for. Considering the auspicious connotation of turtles, it would most likely be produced for a celebratory moment. The harmonious balance of the composition suggests that the 10 artists worked closely and added each of their turtles at the same time. The top turtle, appearing proud and aged, is accompanied by the artist Mori Shuho's signature, which tells us that he was 78 years old when it was made and had a prestigious rank of Hogen given by the imperial court. So the painting was possibly made for some celebration for Shuho. Of the other 9 contributors, 2 are Shuho's family member artists, Mori Yusen and Tetsuzan. The rest of the artists were all active in Osaka, but their relationship with Shuho is not immediately obvious because they are from outside his workshop, Mori School. Nakamura Hochu, to the right-hand side in the detail, Nakamura Hochu is one of them, who was known for his emulation of Ogata Korin's style. And here, Hochu distinctly approaches his turtle, employing a technique of tarashikomi, layering of wet ink over wet color or ink, typically associated with rimpa style. Traditionally, artistic schools transmitted painting styles and techniques from master to pupil. In salon culture in Osaka and Kyoto, however, belonging to one school does not seem to have hindered artists from communicating and collaborating with people from other schools. That demands a better understanding of the late Edo period art scene, which appears far more complex, but it is an exciting prospect. If you lived in a city, it is likely that you had access to professional teachers and instructors in diverse fields of the arts. But if you lived in a remote place and would like to learn a particular artistic skills, what would you do? There was a demand for instruction in how to paint, both in cities and beyond. This book addresses the needs of students in distant and peripheral regions. Aimed at those who wish to learn Chinese-style painting, the artist Miyamoto Kunzan made a book which introduces pictorial subjects such as landscapes, figures, flowers, and animals, and provides step-by-step instructions. On the right on the screen is an illustrated instruction as to how to prepare for sketching. And on the left, many different appearances of plum flowers, indicating the flowers' life stages. This book was published by Key Domains Official Academy. This finely printed illustrated album of a Chinese-style poetry anthology is the result of a friendship between a samurai government official and famous author poet, Ota Nampo, and one of Osaka's most skilled woodblock carver and printer, Tani Seiko. Ota Nampo was dispatched from Edo to oversee the governmental copper guild in Osaka. The postscript to the album by Tani Seiko explains how Nampo and Seiko became good friends since they bonded over drinking sake in Osaka. When Nampo died in Edo in 1823, Seiko, filled with sadness, managed to find Nampo's manuscript of verses and made a printed album based on the original calligraphy, together with Seiko's close artist friend, Nagayama Koen, to pay tribute to Nampo. This example illustrates how personal interactions between the unexpected pair led to a creation of this sensitive artwork. Osaka was a mecca of popular theaters, namely Kabuki and Bunraku puppet theaters. This is an example of Osaka's Kabuki actor prints. The artist Hokuei depicts a well-known scene from the play Summer Festival Mirror of Osaka, Natsumatsuri Naniwa Kagami. The plots of Osaka Kabuki plays could be psychologically complicated. Here, following harassment, the townsman Danshichi is provoked into killing his father-in-law during a summer festival. Hokuei dramatically captured this scene by highlighting the traces of their violent struggle on the muddy ground, contrasting it with the blackout background. His hair is all loose after the fight, and the sword he holds between his teeth has blood on it. At the top of the composition is a text of haiku composed by the actor himself, Arashi Rikan II. It is represented in silver, which is now slightly tarnished. Ability to compose haiku was an important skill for kabuki actors in order to socialize with their patrons. Kabuki actors composed poems on special occasions, such as taking on a famous stage name upon retirement or socializing with their patrons. Surimono were created to commemorate such events. This surimono includes 3 actors' haiku at the beginning. signed off with their pen names Arashi Kuzaemon I, Onimaru or Kigan, Arashi Koroku IV, and Arashi Kichisaburo II, Rikan. The rest of the 11 poets may be their patrons, including the publisher who produced this surimono, Kikuya's Kitoku in Kyoto. These 3 actors were performing in Kyoto in the summer of this year of publication. Some poets composed a haiku about moon viewing. There might have been such an occasion among the actors and patrons. Devoted fans formed clubs and sent gifts to the actors they supported. When their actor came on stage, they sang songs and beat wooden clappers in time to the music. Wearing matching clothes and hats like shown in this print. Kabuki fan clubs could also be counted as a form of a salon activity where people who shared a common hobby interest congregated to enjoy a communal activity. Seki Sanjuro II returned to Osaka after performing in Edo for many years. Here, delighted Sakura fan club members celebrate his return by clapping and chanting. In turn, Seki Sanjuro exaggerated expression of gratitude to his supporters is represented in the text above, emphasizing how much he missed Osaka. Among many types of hobbies available in Japan in the Edo period, from the late 18th century, haiku became very popular at all levels of society. Many haiku circles are known to have existed in cities, towns, and villages, and they formed national networks of haiku poets, including professionals and amateurs. The images on screen are from a 5-volume Who's Who of Haiku Poets. Published in 1813, it compiles information of over 400 poets from across Japan. Each entry has a standardized format: a portrait of the poet, a haiku of their composition, their pen name as a poet, and their short biography, which appears in the cartouche in upper corner. The compiler of the book is an Osaka haiku poet and shipping agent, Shime Chosai. He called for applications from all over Japan to be included in this book. He got responses from Japan's north and south, east and west, which, according to the note at the beginning of the book, he placed in order of first come, first served basis, rather than based on skill or social status, which indicates the ethos of the community of this type of hobby activities. Domestic courier system to deliver mail was well developed in Japan by this time. Biographies tell us where the poet was born and where they lived. Sometimes their occupation and other artistic talents are included. The biographies showcase a range of people from different backgrounds, although ones about men considerably outnumber those for women. People from across Japanese society can be found in this one book, including aristocrats, samurai, merchants, farmers, priests, scholars, artists, and doctors. Sometimes it's a father and son, sometimes a husband and wife. Occasionally, multiple poets from the same district or village appear together. When a group of haiku poets met for a poetry gathering or had an outing together and created poems. The occasion was often commemorated by creating a surimono. Surimono was then distributed among the group members and potentially to other acquaintances. Here, a bold and elegant and naturalistic composition of hibiscus and begonia by the Kyoto artist Matsumura Keibun accompanies 12 poems referring to late summer or autumn. The seasonal themes include the sound of insects, the beautiful moon, bush clover, mushroom gathering, and evening dew. The professional poet Emori Gekkyo appears among other poets, some known, others not. Poetry groups produced anthologies as well. The poet Tenrai from Chikugo spent spring and summer in Kyoto and Osaka, and autumn and winter in Harima and Tajima, which was made possible thanks to the generosity of a network of friends he made while practicing haiku. To express his gratitude, Tenrai compiled an album of haiku by professional and amateur poets that he collected in the places he visited. The album paper, probably commissioned by Tenrai, is printed with delicate blue dragon patterned borders. The picture on the right is one of the pictures in this woodblock printed album by the Osaka artist Mori Tetsuzan. 4 painters, including Watanabe Nangaku and Nakai Ranko, as well as the Chinese calligrapher Tei Sekijo or Chen Chichen, contributed their artworks to this project. This rather plain-looking woodblock printed haiku anthology was made to celebrate the 60th birthday of the Osaka haiku master, Suganuma Kien. The contributing poets were from a wider geographic area than is usual for a haiku anthology. Interestingly, a Korean official is included in this book. His pen name is Taiheiyo, Old Man of Peace, and he composed a verse in Chinese as a contribution. Again, many artists are contributing. In this instance, they are mostly from Osaka, such as Nakamura Choshun and Nagayama Koin. Thus, it is clear that it was artists' important part of career to contribute pictures to poetry publications. This type of work was not limited to towns artists, but sometimes artists from more prestigious lineages, such as the Kano School and Tosa School, also undertook pictorial compositions for poetry-related productions. In addition, a good proportion of artists' own haiku or other verse compositions are extant, which would demonstrate that those artists were likely part of poetry circles. There were many other hobbies available in 19th century Japan. This is an opening from the illustrated book Soga Hyakubutsu, in which the artist Oishi Matora labels and caricatures several types of enthusiastic hobbyists. Examples include enthusiasts of the handheld drum, tsuzumi, and chanting for amateur no performances, bottom right. Sencha-infused tea tasting, top left, and cultivating potted plants, bottom left. These images show how deeply hobbies and cultural engagement became ingrained in the lives of ordinary people, in this instance in Osaka. This is one of the illustrated guides for horticultural enthusiasts to different types of morning glories, asagao, published in Osaka in 1814. It details existing and new varieties of asagao and their shapes, colors, and leaves. In total, 40 species and over 160 varieties are listed with beautifully colored woodblock printed illustrations. The morning glory's popularity as a gardening subject surged from about 1800, not just in Osaka, but also in Edo. Many species were developed by passionate growers. In the preface, the author Minegishi Ryu states that he hopes that this book would be found helpful by fellow morning glory growers and acknowledges that some knowledgeable fellow enthusiasts might not agree with his typology. He was clearly aware of the gaze and the critique from members of a community who shared his passion. Making miniature landscape arrangements in a basin, senkeiban, was another popular hobby in early 19th century Osaka. This is an illustrated book compiling over a dozen designs of miniature landscapes in a basin, made by the artist Suminoe Buzen. He had previously worked as a boatman, then became an artist, as well as a central figure in this art of miniature landscape creation. This book was posthumously published to celebrate Buzen's talent in this art. In the book, his fellow enthusiasts inscribe poems next to the pictures of Buzen's designs and call Buzen their friend. Hobby groups could function as a friendship group. Buzen himself is an interesting figure, an example of a multi-talented individual in 19th century Osaka, who had had a job before turning himself into an artist. As an artist, several of his works are extant. For example, a Chinese style-based ink landscape showcasing varying brush strokes and tones seen in this landscape with mule drivers, and an image of Mount Fuji cast with peculiar effect of light and shadow, which appears as if being reminiscent of European copperplate prints. Buzen was not only capable at painting, but also in metal incision designs. Returning to Senkeiban miniature landscapes, the British Museum copy of Senkeiban Zushiki is a commercial publication which originates in a private publication, Senkeiban, which is on the screen now, published by Buzen's son, Aizan, in 1808. The copy of Senkeiban in the National Institute of Japanese Literature has a sheet of a list of names pasted inside the front cover. This is a list of names and addresses of Senkeiban enthusiasts, Senkeiban Aikoka, which clearly indicates that there was a group of people known for such a capacity. The text at the end of the list states that it was created as a useful reference for those who would like to visit fellow Senkeiban practitioners to see their creations. At the beginning of the list, top right, we see a person called Suminoe who lived in Funacho, This is most likely Buzen himself. All other names are also represented in an abbreviation or a nickname, most of whom are unknown today. I hope to learn more in the future when our research project's database accumulates more information about individuals. It is highly likely that Imatatsu, with the address Edobori in the middle top row, refers to the Osaka publisher Imaya Tatsaburo, who in fact published the commercial version of Senkeiban Zushiki. The name Yodokichi in Kitashinchi in the middle row appears in the book as one of the owners of Buzen-designed Senkeiban landscapes. Looking up the addresses appearing in the single sheet print reveals that they are mostly from the district of Nakanoshima and Dojima, which was Osaka's commercial district, with the rice market, daimyo lords' warehouses, and wealthy merchants' residences. This would lead to a conjecture that quite a few of them would have had some disposable wealth. They might have known each other and connected locally. There are many more objects in the British Museum collection that would demonstrate aspects of salon culture in Kyoto and Osaka, as well as the bustling city life in the late Edo period. Just a few words as a conclusion of this talk. There's still much to explore to understand this phenomenon. We can now at least see that this salon culture enabled individuals a means to escape the societal strictures and to engage with different others through pursuit of the arts. It is inspiring for us today to see that the arts were essential at the core of society and to see clearly many ordinary people's participation in artistic and cultural activities. Our research project, I hope, has established this new perspective for Japanese cultural studies for future developments and expansion. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions in English and Japanese both. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a wonderful talk. And there's just so many beautiful and fascinating objects in this exhibit. It's really wonderful to get to see them, especially for those who can't travel to London, to get to see them in this presentation. So I really appreciate it. I, of course, have a few questions of my own, but I would love to open it up to other folks. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, or you can raise your hand. どなたか質問があれば、日本語でも大丈夫なので、ぜひ手を挙げて、日野とか、チャットボックスにタイプしても大丈夫です。
あたかですけども。
はい、どうぞお願いします。
立命館のあたかですけども、非常に興味深い発表ありがとうございました。これ前提のような話になるんですけれども、このサロンという言い方ですよね。で、最初の時にもちょっと言及されてましたけれども、私も英語のニュアンスで言う、英語圏の人が普通に喋るサロンという言葉と、日本人が言うサロンっていう言葉、それからこういう、江戸時代のこういう、文化人が集まる、こういった集まりをまたサロンという、そのニュアンスっていうのは、英語圏の人が聞いてもですね、理解できるって言ったらおかしいですけど、サロンと言って、その、ニュアンスのズレみたいなものっていうのは実際ないんでしょうかねと思って。 まあ、今、日本でもそういうサロンという言葉が、なんていうんですかね、市民権を得てですね、こういった集まりをサロンと呼ぶことに、それほど違和感はないんですけれども、英語圏の人たちがこういう江戸時代の人たちの、こういう、まあ、サークルって言っちゃったらまた英語なんですけれども、集まりをサロンというふうに、呼んでですね、違和感みたいなのを感じないのかなと思ったんですけど、その辺はいかがでしょうか。
ありがとうございます。それはもう一番根本的な、問題というか、まあ、問題って言っていいのかな。私たちもその点についてはいろいろディスカッションしまして、何という言葉で伝えれば、一番立ちどころにこの私たちが言わんとする人々が、こう、自主的に集まって何か芸事でも、なんか趣味でもいいんですけれども、して楽しむという、そういう空間、そういう行いを何というかっていうのはいろいろディスカッションしまして、で、まあ、サロンっていうと、ヨーロッパ的なニュアンスで言えば、もうちょっと、エリートであるとか、知識人であるとか、そういった人たちの、まあ、上品なというか、まあ、知識のある人たちの限定的なサークルっていうようなニュアンスがあるんですけれども、でもいずれにしてもその芸、アートとか文化を通じて何か人々が共通の興味に基づいて自主的に集まったスペースっていうことを言うときに、やはり日本語で今まであるようなまあ、連とか座とかいろいろありますけれども、そういったもちろん日本語ではもちろん通じないし、日本語でもいくつもの言い方があるし、で、あるいはそういった名前が連とか座とか組とか名前がついているものっていうのは、ある程度そのオーガナイズされたというか、組織だった、集まりだと思うので、それ以上に私たちのプロジェクトは、まずはじめに大きく挙手的に見て、どういうふうに誰がどんな集まりをしたかっていうことを捉えよう。だからものすごく大枠の、研究プロジェクトではあるんですけれども、そういった大きな視点で、あらゆる集まりの形態を見たい、捉えたいっていう時に、で、しかも私たちの現実的な、目標として、この展示、一般の人に見てもらわなければいけないっていう、そういった場を提供した時に一番わかりやすい、立ちどころにやっぱり、っていうふうにこちらのオーディエンスに言ってもらえるのはサロンだなっていうことで、私たちは説明するときにサロンと言って、それで日本のサロンといったときに何を意味するかっていうことをすぐに補足的に説明をしながら展示の解説とかしなければならないんですけれども、現在のところではそのサロンという言葉を使うことで、日本でもまたイギリスでもそれなりに共通の認識が得られるということで、今はこの言葉を使って、はい、進めております。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
大阪、日本のサロンにはですね、まあ、身分的な違いっていうの、武士もいれば商人もいる。まあ、農民がいたかどうかはちょっとわかりませんけれども、割と身分の幅広い集まりがあったように思うんですけれども、まあ、ヨーロッパ的な意味でのサロンというのは、同じ階級の人が集まるっていうニュアンスになるのかなっていうふうに、まあ、漠然と思ってたんですけど、その辺はいかがですか？
そうですね。おっしゃる通りというか、私も、まあ、ヨーロッパのサロンについては、本当に、表面的なことしかわからないですけれども、私の印象もそのようなところがあるので、今回この展示をして、やっぱり、見に来られた方が一番驚くのは、いろんな出自の人、背景を持った人たちが、一つの趣味のことのために一緒の空間にいて交わって楽しんだっていう、それがその日本の江戸時代のイメージ、その階級社会で非常に厳しくてっていうようなイメージと全く対極にあるそういうスペースが存在したっていうことを皆さんすごく面白く感じてくださるので、その点については展示を見た方は理解してくださっているようです。
そうですか。それは大変結構なことだと思います。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
タカさん、質問どうもありがとうございます。we actually have a question in the chat
Sure.
from someone who's asking about, it seems from the presentation that the Osaka community seems to have been predominantly influenced by Chinese culture. And so they're wondering why the strong interest in Chinese culture rather than Dutch or Western culture, which surely entered Osaka as well.
Yes. There was an interest in Dutch materials, especially in the natural history studies, I mean, herbologies and Honzogaku, that sort of area. But still, predominantly, it was based on or using Chinese materials which came through Nagasaki and brought to Osaka first, then all over Japan. So in terms of the number of materials available to us in the British Museum collection, or maybe looking more widely, the Dutch influenced studies materials produced in Osaka is much less than those based on Chinese studies. That's my impression in terms of the scientific natural science area. But along with that, there was a strong current of learning Chinese paintings. So China stood as a model for a long, long time since medieval period, based on the Zen or, in the area field of art, the ink paintings. So that is another very strong current, which culminated in Edo period literary painting. So the presence of Chinese culture, yes, of course, there was Dutch as well, but much stronger, many more materials visible and available to us. So that's why my presentation may have seemed predominantly Chinese. And yes, that is the area something, I would like to explore more and looking into Dutch related items. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
ありがとう
thanks
ござ
very
いま
much.
す。今の、聞こえますか？今の、はい、亀田です。どうも
ありがとうございま
ご無沙汰しております。
す。こちらこそ。
素晴らしい、いえ、素晴らしいプレゼンテーション、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
はい、すごく賛同するところでありまして、私の蘭亭の方にも、チャプター6は、サイノファイルサロン、大阪インテリジェンチアっていうのが、それにフォーカスしてたんですけれども、賛同するところだったんですけど、本当に、江野さんの、プレゼンテーションで、スミーブゼンのね、ランドスケープに、やっぱり、ヨーロピアンコッパープリンツの、られるっていうところでハッとしたんですけれども、その前にやっぱりダッチインフルエンスとチャイニーズインフルエンスと両方来ていたはずっておっしゃってたし、私もだからよくわからなくて、すごい賛同するんですよ。私もだからすごくチャイニーズインフルエンスがすごく強いなと思うんですけど、どうしてダッチをあんまりこう、受け入れなかったんですか？
いや、そうなんですよ。私もだからこの展示をするときに、オランダのことを何か言いたい、オランダを含めたいんだけれども、とにかく実際問題、物がなかったっていうのもあって、結局出すことができたのが、先ほどご覧に入れた住之江豊前の、不思議な光と影の、富士山と白糸の滝の図と、あとは孔孟雑はちょっと江戸の話になりますけれども、そういったあたりで、あとは蒹葭堂がやっぱりオランダの本草学の本を写した絵巻なんかも、日本のあるところにあるようなんですけれども、だから本当にオランダのことに関しては私もまだまだこれからというところで。
ですよね。入ってきていたはずですよね。
はいと思いますね。特に木村蒹葭堂は絶対に、ダッチスタディーズね、彼はいろんなこと興味ありましたけども、やっぱり、で目を配ってますけども、やっぱりでも蒹葭堂のその本草学の師匠の小野蘭山とかっていう人も、オランダも見つつ、やっぱり中国の本草学が一番、あるいは日本の本草学っていうような傾向の人だったらしいので、はい。
ありがとうございます。
うんうん
はいたくさん多くを学ばせていただきました。ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Alright. 亀田さん、どうもありがとうございました。if I, um, sorry, if I might build on that just a little bit, I'm curious about, I've looked into just a tiny bit, circles or salons, I guess, in Kyoto that were interested in Chinese music. So I'm just curious to what extent music sort of also fits into the salons that you've looked at, or what
Yes,
extent it
music.
sort of appears.
Yeah, music is one of the areas which I haven't looked into very much. So the one, examples I encountered are almost all to do with jewelry or no.
Mm.
So those are the areas. So Chinese music, that's, yes, for me, still a very new area to explore. But I saw a painting actually in the British Museum collection, which is painted by Emma Saiko, the female Kanshi poet and Confucian scholar, and she painted Chinese women playing Chinese musical instruments in a hanging scroll format. So there was definitely an interest among those more intellectual side of people, including women, in Chinese music. So yeah, that would be an interesting area to explore. And if you know any good examples, I'd be delighted to hear.
Yeah, thanks so much. I don't want to take up too much time, but I was looking at a book called Gishi Gakufu. So Gi is it's pronounced Wei in Chinese. It's like the kingdom of Wei. So Gishi Gakufu.
Oh.
And so there was a Mr. Gi in Kyoto who I don't know, I forget who it was, somebody else wrote the preface, and the preface, he says, everyone in Kyoto from the top to the bottom is super interested in Ming and Ching music right now, which seems like it was probably not true.
Yeah.
But at least there was one salon around him that seemed particularly interested in this. So anyway.
Yeah, but reminded me of Kyoto literary painting circles where those Chinese musical instruments were played by the artists and others. So yeah, there should. Yeah, it sounds like highly likely there were some, even if it's small, groups and circles devoted to Chinese music at the time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. じゃあ、森さん、どうぞお願いします。森さん。
声が聞こえますでしょうか。
はい、聞こえます。
すみません。私も、3年ほど前に、堺の方の臨済宗のお寺の版木を、デジタルアーカイブするというプロジェクトをしておりまして、堺のお寺なんですけど、摂津になんですけど、だからちょっと今、たくさん、資料を見せていただいたんですけど、刷り物であるとか、版木であるとか、出版されたものが多いと思うんですけど、マニュファクチャーといいますか、これだけですね、多様な、徘徊なんか言ってみたら同人誌みたいなものであったり、名所図に関しては言ってみれば、大量生産といいますか、非常に広範な読者層を想定したですね、出版物である。あとは、例えば歌舞伎であるとか、中国風の絵画の監視、いろいろ多岐にわたるですね、なんて言いますか、趣味と言いますか、に、どういうふうな形でその出版をして、大阪のその出版に携わる人たちが、編集とかですね、から製本までですね、どんな形で、この当時ですね、こんだけいろんな多種多様なですね、出版物を、作ることが可能だったのかなっていうのをちょっと一つお聞きしたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。
そうですね。出版物、非常におっしゃる通り多岐にわたる。で、本当に出版物ってね、面白くて、一冊見るだけでたくさんの人々が関わっていて、それだけでもうそこに一つの世界があるっていうような、非常に面白い、アイテムというか、資料だと思うんですけれども、今回の私たちのそのプロジェクトの一つの目的というのがそのデータベースを作るということで、出版物に関しても、この時代、江戸後期の京都と大阪を中心にそこで出版されたとりわけ、その芸術や詩歌に関する出版物をメインに集めてますけれども、そこに出てくる人の名前っていうのは1ページずつすべてピックアップして、先ほどお見せしたそのユーザーメモというシステムを使って今データベースにどんどん貯めていっているので、それを貯めていった暁には、どういった人がどんな役割でどんな出版物を出したかっていうようなところまで私たちのレベルではわからないかもしれませんけれども、そのデータを、公開することによって、その版本であれば版本がご専門の方々がそこのデータベースに入っている人の名前を見て、それを分析して、利用していただければっていう、そういった希望を持ってこのプロジェクトをやっています。ですので今回はよく美術史なんかでは版本っていうともうそのメインの絵師のことしか言及されない場合多いですけれども、今回はもちろんその序文、抜文からその出版社だけでなくて、その版木を彫った人、刷った人、とにかく出てくる名前はすべてデータとして取り上げるという方針でどんどん情報を貯めていますので、そういったものが集まったときには例えば何かお気づきの点などご教示いただければ、私たちにとっても、それがその先のために今このプロジェクトを始めたところっていう形ですので、はい、ご活用していただければというふうに思います。
大変、興味、ご研究のご研究がね、すごく私、あの、あの、勉強になりました。はい。またぜひともよろしくお願いいたします。
こちらこそいろいろご教示ください。
ちょっと仏教書なんかは結構江戸の前期から中期ぐらいにかけて大量に出版されたんですけど、後期になってずっと下がっていくんですけど、それに代わってこういうふうな民衆の出版物っていうのが増えていくというのは、ちょっと一つ面白いかなと思ったりもいたしました。はい。またどうぞ今後ともよろしくお願いいたします。
よろしくお願いいたします。
森さんどうもありがとうございました。じゃあ、他にどなたか何か質問あるのでしょうか。Well, perhaps I'll ask another question if that's all right.
Sure, please.
This might be a little bit too big of a question, but I'm just curious. I don't know if it's just sort of an accident of my training or who I studied with or what, but I feel like my experience in art history and so forth has always been very Edo-centric. And I know that Professor Gersel and a few other people, I'm definitely aware of their extensive work in Kamigata culture, but I wonder, if you could say a little bit about sort of to what extent is Kamigata still very understudied, or is it much more well studied than I realize, or yes.
It is definitely understudied compared to Edo. So Kyoto, Osaka, in terms of in the history of in the field of art history, it's been in focus in a way, focusing on specific artists, which comes mainly from the Tsujinobu's Kiso no Keifu, the Soga Shohaku, Ito Jakuju, all those, that book was published long time ago, but it was such a big influence. So Kiso artists, eccentric artists, they have been very well focused in the past few decades, and following on that, finding an unknown magnificent artists in Kyoto, Osaka, that's been going on for some time, but still, in a bigger picture, how they fit in the society, cultural milieu of Kyoto, Osaka, that is something we are still, doing and needs to be done. And Edo may be more comprehensively studied in literature and art and so on and so forth. But yes, Kyoto and Osaka. So there are, specialists we are very fortunate and we have them on board in the research project. So we are learning a lot from them, but still, from a bigger picture, Kyoto and Osaka is, still a lot more to be done in terms of research. And we are hoping to raise the profile of Kamigata culture through this research project.
Well, how exciting to, introduce Kamigata culture more to the British Museum audience, right? Introduce to the museum goers, this whole kind of other world of the other side of Japan.
Yes, in terms of British Museum's Japanese collection, the most famous artist is Hokusai, Edo. So people who come to the Japanese galleries, they expect to see Hokusai, but this time they are encountering unexpectedly Kyoto and Osaka. But they, people seem to enjoy, finding the objects they like, and they take pictures and taking interest in. But we definitely had to put a big map on the wall. So we are talking about this area. Edo is, to the east, that's Edo, but not this time. We are talking about Kyoto and Osaka. So map serves very well, and for those who know very little about Japanese culture.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for maybe one more question. If it's a quick one, if anyone has a quick question.
What small question? It might be not, directly relevant, but somehow, in my understanding, like, as Sensei, presented, like boundary, between class and even the gender was usually crossed, among Japanese salon communities. But somehow, why women were not allowed to attend the sumo wrestling?
That, as far as I understand, it was because of the religious origin of the game event sumo. It was a religious rituals. So even when it was popularized as a sport event in Kyoto or Osaka, somehow women were still not allowed to see the sumo matches. That's as far as I researched. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, well, we're mostly out of time, but we have questions from Itami-san, from one of the students, and then also from Takenaka Sensei. So maybe, let's see. I apologize. So, don't mind looking at the. So Itami-san is asking about the Sekkeiban book, Senkeiban, and let's see, まだなく書かれたリストで何を目的としたものなのか翻訳できませんでした。しけば日本語で教えて。So I guess she's asking about the list of right, of people who are interested and their addresses. And I guess
その目的。
うん。
目的は、あそこに書いてあることを文字通りに取れば、あのリストを使って仲間の線形版を作る人たちの、作品を見に行くために作りましたっていうふうに書いてあります。だからおそらくあのリストに載ってるのは今ちょうど画面に出てますけども、あの辺りの住所が多いんですね。なので、その辺りで同じく線形版をやってる他の人がどんなものを作ってるんだろうって言って、見に行くときに便利なためにこれを作ってすり物にしましたということが書いてあります。それが文字通り、そこに述べてある、目的です。
説明ありがとうございます。
うん
もう時間になりましたんですけど、最後に竹中先生を、どうぞお願いします。
竹中です。聞こえますか？
はい、
大丈夫です。
聞こえます。
それからビデオ映ってますでしょうか？ちょっと私の画面の方では何も映らないので、はじめまして、立命館大学の竹中と申します。専門は西洋美術、近現代美術ですので、全く専門外なんですが、今回の展覧会2度拝見させていただきました。
あ、そうですか。恐れ入ります。ありがとうございます。
6月と8月に2回伺いまして、拝見させていただいて、もう非常に面白くて、気になって写真を撮った作品が今日もその順番からご紹介いただいたので、やはり、面白いなと思えたところ、趣味、いろんな階層の方々が趣味で集まっている、サロンという言葉、先ほどあたかさんのご質問からなかなか問題含みな用語だということでしたが、レンとかザとかシャーとかそういう言葉で行われていた、趣味の世界を、探求されたという点が非常にもうびっくりしました。大英博物館で、他の各国は本当に代表的な作品や代表的な文化なんですが、日本のところに行くと、こういう大阪、京都のサロン文化という、すごく専門的、平たく言うとマニアックなテーマで、それが展示されまして、一つの、テーマ性が打ち出されていましたので、イギリス大英帝国、大英博物館における日本文化研究の、厚みを感じさせていただきました。そして、先ほどのそのサロンという言葉のご質問の時にもあったんですが、サロンよりもむしろ趣味研究、社会学の方でですね、趣味研究が非常に深まっております。それからサロンに関係しまして、趣味研究の始まりとしましては、ユルゲン・ハーバーマスの、公共性のパブリックスフィアの構造、転換のところでも、やはりちょっと政治性のあるそういう議論の場ですが、イギリスの、コーヒーハウスの文化、そして前田勉さんという日本の思想史されている方が、江戸時代の読書会をパブリックスフェア、公共権と合わせて、日本でもさまざまな、階層が集まった勉強会、読書会をしていて、そこでは侍の士族から町人から農民まで一緒になって研究会をしていた文化があるというような、そういう研究がありますので、そういったものともう少し接続できれば、社会学や思想史との接続ができれば、もっともっと説得力のある展覧会になったのじゃないかなと思いました。非常に楽しめた反面、一方で東京芸大で吉原をサロン文化というちょっと問題含みの展覧会がありましたので、あれとの差異なども非常に面白く拝見させていただきました。コメントばっかりになりますが、最後に質問とすれば、そういったですね、例えば東京芸大での、江戸の吉原のサロン文化というものを今回の展覧会を開催するにあたってちょっと意識ということは全く別の方向性ですけれども、そういったものは考慮に入れられたか、そして、ジェンダーの問題関西でも島原とかございますが、 そういったものを、あえて排除されたのかということだけ、ちょっと打足かもしれませんが、お聞かせいただければ。
ありがとうございます。そういった社会学のご研究について、いろいろご教示いただきまして、ありがとうございます。これから、本当に社会学の分野、あるいは思想史の分野は、まだまだ本当にかじっただけですので、今教えていただいただけでも、これから勉強する先というものが、具体的に、見えてきて、大変ありがたく思います。で、吉原ですけども、江戸の吉原の、サロンというか、世界っていうのはやっぱりすごく限定的、すごく特殊な世界っていうのが、私の中での思いがあって、で、今回でもやはりその京都、大阪やるんだったらね、おっしゃられたように島原、新町があるじゃないかっていうことで、で、かろうじて、展示の中に、大阪の新町の遊郭を舞台にというか、遊郭という世界をモチーフに作られた廃書を一冊だけ、騎士演譜という本がありますけれども、それを出しまして、で、その本はなぜ今回の展示に、非常に適切というか、出しやすかったかというと、それは面白いことに、廃書で、もちろん、太夫とかその上のランクの遊女たちも俳句を読んでる。で、お客さん方も俳句を読んでる。けれども、それだけではなくて、本が私にとって、展示にふさわしいと思った理由は、さらにそこに参加している人たちが、遊女と客だけではなくて、その、遊郭の中で働くいろんな人々、例えば、キッチン、台所で働いてる女の人が、夜遅くに、台所をきれいに、雑巾掛けしているシーンが絵になっていたりとか、その絵の配り方が、一定の限られた人たちだけの特殊な世界ということではなくて、そういう人たちもいつつ、それを運営するためにもっと大きな社会がそこにあって、そういう人たちがそこで働いて、この世界を支えているんだっていうようなことが、俳句の方でも、絵師自身ももちろん俳句、書いてますけれども、その大きなその新町を運営するための人たちっていう視点でその本が編纂されてるっていうのが、私は一つ面白いなと思って、で、その絵の中にも、遊女の人がお酒飲みすぎて気持ち悪くなって戻してるシーンとか、割とそういう、なんていうの、すごく地に足がついた、その雲の上の素敵な世界じゃなくて、この世界っていうんだって、やっぱり人間がやっている、営みの一つなんだよっていうようなコンテクストで表彰されていたので、それで、今回、新町関係でその本を一つ出しました。ですので、そうですね。今回は、なるべく広く、いろんな人に当てはまる。いろんな人に目が配られている。いろんな人が参加している。そういった、選択肢、そういった選択のクライテリアで作品を選びましたので、はい、その例を出して、お答えとさせていただけるでしょうか。
ありがとうございます。
竹中先生、どうもありがとうございます。じゃあ、最後に、悪魔先生、どうぞお願いします。
はい、すいません。ちょっとこっちか。ちょっとね、今、ビデオが反対方向向いてるので、一応切りますけど。すいません。皆さん、質問はできるだけ早めにしてくださいっていう感じになる。私、質問じゃなくて、最後の、このプロジェクトは、今、矢野先生と、一緒にやって、日本側の私代表、私の方は専門じゃないので、データをきちんと作っていくという、基盤ので参加させてもらっているんですけれども、展覧会がですね、竹中先生は2回、行かれてますが、他の今参加者の人たちは、展覧会見ることができないっていう中で、ちょっと、共有できますかね。共有。
私が共有を切りますか。すいません。
そうですね、すいません。
はい。はい。
で、共有、リクエストを送信、共有できるようになった。はいはい。で、これかな。はい。 映りました？で、
はい、大丈
先ほど見せてもらった、この、プロジェクトの、ウェブサイトなんですけども、そこにエキシビションっていう、入り口がありまして、そこでですね、会場、ちょっと今、作成中なんですけど、会場風景はこのように、これが前期ですね。あ、違う、これが後期。あれ後期間違ってるなんか
それ前期ですね。
前期でしょここが間違ってるだけですね。はい。で、それから、後期の方は、こちらで、やはり、このように、会場の様子が見ることができた上で、かつ、それぞれの、パートに分かれて、どんな作品が展示されているかっていうのが見られるように、今作ってるところです。で、アトリエ写真センターが、大博物館の、資料の、デジタル化をかなり進めてきたんですけども、今回新しく入った、資料もかなり使われていて、まだこういったのが、データがないんですかね。で、いうのを、またちょっと相談させてもらって、完成させたいなと思っているところです。このプロジェクト自体は、大博物館側が1月の終了でしたっけね。
展示は3月の終わりまでで
はい
す。
はい。あとが、プロジェクトとしては、
プロジェクトは、
ね
そんな、
あ
すいません。私たちちょっと伸ばすことできまして、
そうです
そんな話を今ここでするのはあれですけど。
そしたら同じかもしれないですけど、日本側も3月までのプロジェクトで、こういう作業も、継続してやっていて、3月には、こういうサイトも、それからどのような営みだったかっていうのはこういう形で残るようにもしていますということなので、まだ未完成ですけども、もう出せるものは出してありますので、ぜひ、こちらの方もご覧になっていただければという、はい、お知らせでした。はい、すいません。
夫。
ありがとうございます。
赤間先生、その大事なお知らせどうもありがとうございました。じゃあ、それでは、次回の、国際 ARC セミナーの案内をさせていただきたいと思います。ごめんなさい。再来週、12月25日、国立音楽大学の、塚田明美先生、澤田千秋先生、そして東京芸大の沼口隆先生、による、国立音楽大学附属図書館所蔵の、ベートーベン初期印刷楽譜コレクション、室内楽、編曲の意義と楽しみというテーマで、ご発表いただきます。皆様ぜひご参加くださるようによろしくお願いいたします。じゃあ、それでは、セミナー閉会させていただきたいと思います。矢野先生、どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you for getting up so early or making time so early in the morning.
Oh, not at all. My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
はい、そして皆様、ご参加ありがとうございました。じゃあ、それでありがとうございました。
失礼します。
拍手です。Okay。はい、皆様どうもありがとうございました。お疲れ様です。
先生お疲れ様です。